G'day all and welcome back to GranTurismoCoach.com. I'm Jason, I'll be your coach for today, and welcome to the advanced track guide for Laguna Seca. Now, why are we choosing Laguna Seca and why are we doing it in the Audi TT Cup 16? Well, Laguna Seca comes up very regularly on the daily races. It's a great racetrack and it's very beneficial if you know the right lines and the intricate details of where you can push this track to its limits. The Audi TT, on the other hand, is a car that seems to be, in the last few months, how do you say that? It is regularly in the top one or two fastest cars in the balance of power races that occur in the hard tires of the daily races. So you'll find the Audi TT is a good car to race of recent times. They do modify the balance of power settings every now and then. So you might find that in the future they tweak the Audi TT down because it's regularly featuring in any Group 4 race. It seems to be the fastest on WeatherTech. It's up there on Bathurst and Autopolis and Laguna as well. So you'll find that it's a great car to become very familiar with. It's also very stable, as are most of the front wheel drives. The Peugeot RCZ gives it a run for its money on the longer straights like Bathurst. Anyway, enough about that. This is an advanced video. It's going to be considerably longer than some of the previous ones. We're going to go into intricate detail of every single corner on this track so that you know it for every single car. We may even jump in and do it in a rear-wheel drive just to show some of the minor differences there. You can, of course, and I recommend you do, go into the circuit experience in the game itself and learn the basics of Laguna Seca. It will show you to a basic level how to go around the track. Also online there are various lap guides and they're also very good, but they will not go into the intricate details on every single corner that we're going to go to here that you will need to know if you want to be an advanced player. So this assumes, of course, that you are fully comfortable with the previous videos. If you haven't watched the Racing Line videos, learned about braking points and manual gears and front wheel drive cars, you need to go back and do those now because we're going to go into a lot of detail here that leverages off the fact that you should know those details. Okay, let's get right into it. Now, for this particular demonstration, I've chosen the hard tires. And why, you might say, and also I've turned the balance of power on. So these level ups are irrelevant once you've got the balance of power on. And the hard tires, and the reason for that, and I've even though I've chosen the fully customized non-sync sequential transmission, the balance of power on and these other settings is typically what you are going to get in the daily races. So like I mentioned, Laguna Seca comes up often, and the Audi TT in this exact configuration very often is the fastest car on these tracks in the daily races. So that's why I've chosen this setup. Obviously the theory we're going to learn here about Laguna Seca, you can apply it to any car and any power setup, but this is the one. When we had the daily race, it was a couple of months back on Laguna Seca with this, I achieved a time of 1 minute 27.128. So we'll see how close we can get to that today. That's a target. If you can beat that, let me know in the comments. 1 minute 27.128. So that's a reasonable time. It's by no means the fastest in the world. There's several hundred players that can get faster than that. But that's what we're here to learn today, is how you can get at least near to that. Now, one thing I did not explain in the front wheel drive video is about the brake balance. I'm going to leave it on 0 for now, but often in the front wheel drive cars, a lot of people like to put that all the way to the rear because, of course, you can use the gears to brake on the front. I find that the Audi tends to work pretty close to 0 or 1 to the rear. It pulls up fairly quickly. So for the purpose of this video, I'll leave it on 0. Now, let's remember, we're here to talk more about the track than we are about the car. However, one thing I do want to point out, you'll notice as I've got my right hand wheel over that ripple strip, you can probably hear the force feedback moving. You can see in the video the car is vibrating, and then it comes smooth once we come off that ripple strip. Similarly on the, if I hit the inside one, on this one here, you watch when I put the wheels on it. Okay, we're getting some vibration now. So the first thing I want to mention is, and this is not so much about the track, but it's more about driving in an advanced in an advanced way, is you need to know whatever view you're using, whether you're in the car or on the bonnet view or in the chase cam. You'll see from the chase cam, you can see my wheels are actually just a little bit off to the right hand side there. So if I was to come here where I've put both of my right side wheels just on that red and white strip. Now when I race, I don't like the chase cam. It seems to be a little bit slower for me, and also I can't really see the cars behind. Even if you put it on where's the radar, it doesn't show very far behind. So I always race in the bumper cam view, and the point here is that you can see where that red and white ripple strip is on this view. It's about a quarter of the way into the screen, but you just need to memorize where that is, that your wheels are just starting to touch it, or in fact if they've come over it as they are there now. I'll back up so we can see that a little better. So it's important to know that you can see if it's right in the middle, I'm straddling it. My right hand wheels are on the green, my left hand wheels are on the black tarmac, and I'm very nicely, and you'll notice on this corner actually it's very smooth, whereas if I'm on the red and white as I am there, it's not smooth anymore, it's bumpy. So knowing exactly where your wheels are is part of being an advanced driver, and we're going to use that a lot as we go through. And you will want to use those ripple strips because they are an extended part of the track, and you don't get any penalties obviously for going onto them, but you will get penalties if you just happen to slip both wheels over them. So that's the kind of detail we're going to go into here. We're really going to break this down to I'm going to say the millimeters. We're going to break it down to the fractions of an inch if you're if you're in the US. Okay, next thing to talk about is brake markers. We're coming around, we've come over the start-finish line. We're coming across to the Andretti hairpin here, and the most obvious brake marker on the right-hand side, now you'll notice I got my wheels on the ripple strip. Nice job. So you'll notice the large number 4, the number 3, the number 2. That's all well and good, but one of the things that's not well and good about these is that if somebody hits them, they all get moved. Did I miss it? Let's just see if I can really hit it. Now let's try and hit that one. There we go. Bam, there it goes. So now where do you brake? If you're using those numbers in a race and somebody hits it, you can see it stays where it is for the rest of the race. So I don't recommend that you use movable markers. It's for the same reason I recommended in the previous videos not to use the cones. I recommend to use fixed points on the track. And on this corner it's very nice. You've got the little start of, see the extra part of the track just to the right hand side, and you've got that lovely big line which was where this marker, the 3 marker, was. So in a group 4 car you're going to want to start braking around about here, halfway between where the black strip starts and that line. If you're really good at braking, you can approach the line, or if you get a bad entry onto the straight and you're going a little bit slower, you can brake a little bit closer to the line. Keep in mind, if you've had a great entry onto the straight and if you've slipstreamed a few cars behind, you're going to be moving a lot faster. If you're still in the slipstream, you won't have much downforce, so you will need to start braking back about here. You need to extend your brake distance by a couple of car lengths to accommodate for the extra speed and the lack of downforce. Anyways, on a good lap by yourself on this track, you want to brake just before that white line on the right hand side. You will notice I can actually come way over here if I want to and use a lot of this track because my left wheels are still in the track. Same as we talked about a few minutes ago, if I'm silly enough to come over here and take my left wheel off the track limit, I will pick up a penalty. Don't do that. Keep your wheel inside the track. Brake towards the corner here, and this is another example. We want to get that inside wheel just nipping the ripple strip there. There's the vibration. Keep it nice and tight around here, but you won't be able to accelerate, because if you do accelerate, just as we showed in the front wheel drive video, what happens if you accelerate too hard? You'll slide right the hell off this corner. Not cool. So when you accelerate through this corner, you just want to hold a very small amount of throttle. So Here we go. Let's see if we can get those tires back. Okay, we hold just a medium throttle like this. Pull again on that one, so you just hit that ripple strip. Slide all the way across till you just hit this ripple strip. Again, come wide on this to this. Now, this ripple strip, and you will notice one of the useful things in Gran Turismo, and they do point these out in the training videos, is you see the tire marks on that ripple strip. That's supposed to be there because it indicates that's where everybody else drives. And you know why? It's a great spot to be. So see that black and white mark on the ripple strip on the left-hand side. It's a great place to kind of nick it like this as you're turning in for the next corner. Now I will point out when we come back and do this in the rear-wheel drive cars, some of the rear-wheel drive cars really don't like to hit these ripple strips because the back will just step out and it's game over. But on this, on the front-wheel drive Audi TT, you can take full advantage of this if you want. Come all the way up here. And one thing you'll notice, and I really am getting into details here, guys, this is the advanced track knowledge. This is the kind of stuff you're not going to get on the online track guides, and you won't certainly get this in the Gran Turismo basic track experience. You see at the end of the ripple strip that nice little white triangle. When you drive over that, have a look, have a feel on your force feedback, look at the bumps coming over the ripple strip, and when you get onto the white, didn't really show it. I'll try a little faster. Let's see how we go here. Okay, we've got bumps on the red and white, and on the white, there it goes. It's nice and smooth. What I'm trying to say is that the white area is smooth and the red and white area is not. One thing that's useful, and again, this is something that I do when you're hitting a corner and you're flying off and you don't know why. Come on up and reverse around and have a look at the contours. Now, from this angle, you can very clearly see that the red and white. Oh, that's a bit unfortunate. Let's try that again. Maybe it figured I was completely backwards, and oh, it's because I came to a stop. So if you will see that the red and white actually is contoured. It's got some significant bumps there. So that's not always a good thing. In the front wheel drive, it doesn't matter too much, and sometimes, believe it or not, in braking, depending on which way they're all facing, like for example, if we do a reverse track direction, you can actually use those to your benefit in braking. But the point is that if you have a look at the white section on the far right hand side of the screen, and of course it's just reset on me, is that the white section is smooth. So you can actually use that as a great way to kind of exit off the ripple strip in a smooth fashion. So for example, this one on our right side, we want to just get right in here and just pick up a little bit of that ripple slip, and as it comes off, nice and smooth, and so the car has recovered license. So use that white. Here's another one, left wheel, there it goes, we're on the white. Oh, now I've gone a little close there, and we'll cover those, what they're called sausage strips, in a moment. Same thing on this one, you want to come down on the ripple strip, just clip this one on the left side, use the white as a nice exit, and slide your way across to this one. It's probably quicker to be slightly off the strip there, but you do want to come back onto it here as you just, yep, I know I hit the sausage strip again. So the point here being, use the ripple strips, learn where they are on your car. Now let's I need to back right up if I'm going to do this corner by corner. So we almost come around on the first track here, on the first lap. I'll start again. Now, as always, when you start for the qualification runs, you will start about where we are now, and you accelerate towards this before we come around to the start finish line. So when you're at full race speed, the braking points here again is on the right hand side. You'll probably want to use this ripple strip or just stay inside it, and you'll see the distance markers 3, 2 and 1, but they will get destroyed in certain lobbies and races where people slide off or they get a bit excited and hit each other. They will go. So what do you use as a braking point coming into this last very sharp left hand corner? And again, you can see the black tire marks on the road, and specifically where the black tire marks start on that white line that is just on the right hand side of the track aligns quite well with the 300 meter marker there. So typically I find the breaking point is somewhere between the 3 and the 2. So if you look at that black mark on the track, on the line, which starts about here, somewhere around here and up to here where those tracks come, you can see the tire marks coming back on the track. That's where you want to aim as your breaking point when the number 3 is gone. So that's a good, you will normally be in say third gear or fourth, and you drop it down into say second. Follow the tire, the tire marks around here. Again, you really do need to get this tight. Try and clip the ripple strip. Get the car under a little bit of acceleration. Often you'll slide wide here, but there's a little bit of a pull-off area you can see. Sometimes the most efficient way is to straddle this ripple strip so you got nice smooth surface on both sides. You do get a surprisingly reasonable amount of grip off the green surface on the right, and even if you go wide all the way over to the black surface, you typically do not get a penalty sliding out over that. In fact, if you really have lost it, you can just clip a little bit of that grass. Let's just show that. So you can kind of come around here and just clip a bit of this grass. You're going to lose a bit of time, but you should not get a penalty on this track for that. You certainly don't want to go so wide as to slide in the kitty litter. Okay, let's just cover off on that one more time. What have I missed? Accelerator. We've done that. Lift off on the fast left before the Raja straight. We'll get into that, and the corkscrew. Okay, so let's just let's get a little bit of reasonable speed as we come through. We'll show hopefully the braking point. Remember, on this first corner is the white line at around the 300-meter mark. We want to come well right. You can clip that if you want. Come into there, knock it down to typically second. Light acceleration here, just clipping that inside point, trying not to hit the sausage strips out to the ripple strip on the left. Back it off here, and I find just flicking to second before you pull through there. Again, you want to use the ripple strip on the left and pull off into the right hand side. Slide it across to the ripple strip on the left. Again, pick up the full track on the right hand side. Now the break point here I didn't talk about. It's typically between the number 3 and the number 2 there. You can see the tire marks as well on the ripple strip. You see I got my right hand wheel on there. But again, the number 3 can get hit fairly often here. So take note of the overhead walkway there, which is and the shadow on the track, which is a little bit away from the number 3. There's also a white marker on the fence that can be pretty good if you kind of line it up with that right marker. And what you typically want to do coming into this corner is brake with kind of moderate to medium brakes. Drop the gears a little bit late. You typically don't quite get to this white. You can see the tire marks, some get to the white, but a lot of them turn in early. If you depending on the car, if you're turning in here, you're often a little late. It can give you good lap time, but sometimes you can slide off. But one thing is absolutely sure: you want to get to this left inside ripple strip just after the sausage strip there. You can see the black tire marks on the ripple strip. You really do want to clip this, and you can even get your tire a little bit on the inside of that and make sure you pick up this white, and that gives you a really nice slide coming all the way out here. You'll see I've got the corner markers on. I'll show you why in a minute. Typically coming up here, you really don't want to have your wheels on that red and white. The rear wheel drive cars will totally lose it. You'll end up over there in the grass, but even if you do hit it in the front wheel drives, it's probably slightly faster to just pull off here so that you got a smoother surface to run up. However, when you get up here to turning into the Raja Straight, you will probably want to pick up a bit of that curve on the right hand side before you turn in. Again, the braking point here is typically between the 300 meter and 200 meter marker there. Again, they can get lost in a race, so take note again of the footbridge overhead and the subsequent shadow. Now the trouble with shadows, of course, is I've set this to middle of the day, fine weather. If you've got an overcast day, sometimes the shadows will disappear. They'll go to the shadow realm. Bad joke. And again, the white markers on the fence at the 300 and thereabouts. I'm just noticing on the right hand side now there's a little what appears to be like a rainwater drain, so that's probably not a bad marking point. What you will notice is about this point is where you need to either start let's say braking, certainly taking off the accelerator, but the key here is if you look up along the track, you actually can't see the corner yet. So you need to brake before you can see the corner, or if not brake, at least take off the accelerator. I find in this car, you typically in fourth gear, you can just take off the accelerator, and the engine braking will give you enough slowing down that you can drift across here towards the apex. You absolutely need to hit the ripple strip here if you wish to stay on the track and get the fastest time. Again, aim for that little white triangle at the end. I will come back on all of these and show you some little tricks where you can actually go inside that sausage there. But let's assume in the race, in the actual race, that's a little bit dangerous because you can pick up a penalty, and it can, if you hit it, it will send you sky high off to the litter on the right hand side. You'll typically slide all the way across here, and what's really good, you've got that nice little green slip. Again, you can straddle the red and white if you need to. As you're pulling back on, you can use this bit of the black as well, not pick up any penalty if you really have come wide through there. Okay, coming into the corkscrew now. This one is critical. I did warn you we're going into a lot of detail, guys, so you're not going to necessarily remember this all on one go. I recommend you pause the video, practice each corner, go back and check it again. Now, there's a lot of tire marks coming up here. Some people, there's about 3 or 4 different ways you can take this corner, all of which are relatively fast, and all of which you will use in a race depending on where your opponents are on the track. You'll see that a lot of people here come up and they actually put their tires on this ripple strip and use kind of a straight line. Again, we're going to need to start braking before we get to the peak of this hill, otherwise you're going to shoot straight off the corner. Typically my braking point and what I use as a marker is again that white line on the track just before the 300-meter mark. In cars where your braking is not so fantastic, you'll need to start braking around about here, a couple of car lengths in front of the number 3. If you've got exceptionally braking from your pedals or a really good car, you can brake around about at the number 3, at the line here. Now, one thing that's, you'll see why my car is here, I'm actually straddling that red and white, and in the really top lobbies, if you have a look at the top 10 replays, they will typically use this little black piece of tarmac on the right hand side and continue braking all the way through here. Even when they get to here, yes, their wheels hopefully just on the red and white, but even if they skip over that dirt on the right side, it's such a small patch, and by then your car is virtually leaping over the top of that hill. It really won't make much difference, but you see the line means you can brake directly into this corner here rather than necessarily coming to the right. You can come across the track, brake into this. If you can clip a little bit of that green, it's great, but I do have to warn you, you really don't need much of that green and you're going to pick up a penalty. So it's often better in the race to just make sure you keep your wheels on that red and white. You don't want to miss these ones though. It's not cool. Now, why have I got the corner markers on? And I think you can see it right there. I'm way back here. That corner ahead is well hidden. Now, okay, I could use the little gap in the trees. That's actually not a bad marker as well. But by having that nice blue marker on, I can see exactly where I'm aiming for. I can get my line. Now, where do I want to aim? I want to aim that my right hand wheels go over that blue marker. Yeah, well, you do typically want to have your right hand wheels because normally you might use your left hand wheels. Let's have a look at it. But if I put my left hand wheels on that one, do you see how far my car is over the track? And you're typically going to get a penalty on Laguna Seca. The corkscrew is a hell as far as the penalties are concerned. You will get penalties if you cut the first corner. You'll get penalties if you cut the second corner. You'll get penalties if you run off into the kitty litter there. It is just hell for penalties. So I recommend if you're trying to do a qualifying lap, push your limits, no problem. Just put a couple of wheels on the green here. Try to pick up again the green, but you do not want to get your both sets of wheels on the red and white. So you see the left hand wheels typically will need to stay on the track. I think you'll find if my left-hand wheels get to the red and white, which is about here, I'm going to get a penalty for that. Whereas if my left-hand wheels are just on the black, I should not get a penalty for this. So you can choose that. You can push your limits, try it out in the qualifying times, but I recommend to not push the limits in the race. Stay a little bit further inside the lines so you don't get a penalty on the corkscrew. The other thing worth mentioning is this corkscrew is notoriously slippery. It does not really matter which group car you're in, how much horsepower you got, you are going to slip off this corner. So even in the Group 4 front wheel drives, you can only really use, if any throttle at all, you use like a quarter to a half of the throttle. A lot of the cars, you're better off to just take everything off and allow it to just glide through that corner until you get back onto the straight here, and then you can dump it. Now coming through the last curve here, they don't even give it the decency of calling it a corner. This is the rainy curve, you can see, and I don't mean rainy as in it's going to rain. They're talking about the racing car driver, of course. Coming into turn 9, rainy curve. This is a bit tricky, this one. A lot of people will go very wide down here. Others, you can see the width of the track it's quite a reasonable overtaking opportunity, if you like, through here, particularly if people have missed the corkscrew. But what you certainly don't really want to do is to hug this inside line. You see the way it tightens up fairly quickly here, and even when you get to here, it's actually almost like that's an incredibly sharp little spot on the track. So you certainly want to, I'll just sort of back this up a bit here. You certainly want to take, as you come out of the corkscrew, you want to head across here, again, roughly towards the corner marker. I think you lose a little bit too much time if you really do try to hug all the way over here. And you certainly don't want to hit that ripple strip. You see there's no tire marks on there. The tire marks are typically more in around here. This is a great spot to be. Most cars, at this point in the track, you'll just need to back right off the accelerator momentarily to allow the car to take some balance and to take some traction on that front right hand side, and then depending on the car you can apply quarter to a half or 3/4 of a throttle to power on through the rainy curve. We'll come back again on the sausage strips. You do want to clip this red and white if you can, and you'll probably slide across here to the right hand side. I don't find you want to hit this too much on some cars. Some cars, this one, you will slide straight off. Again, see just how rough the contours are on that white patch there. That will throw you straight into the gravel. On the front wheel drive, of course, you can get quite a bit of it if you want, and if you just pick up that nice little smooth triangle at the end, it will pull you back on the track. But be wary of that one. Stay just inside it, I would recommend. This one is a different story. You want to pick up the full red and white whipple strip. In fact, some cars you come slightly outside it here with the sole purpose. You see the tracks again. At this point on the track, I'm already aiming into the last corner. So I want to pull up off here. Try not to brake too much, just a small amount of braking. Back off the accelerator. In some cars you can leave it in the same gear you're in and just power on out. Others you have to drop it. In some cars, actually, you'll drop the gear and then back into the gear you were in. The dropping of the gear is just to wash off some speed, and the back into the gear to get that nice torque to pull out. You'll see this corner does open up a fair bit. You must hit this ripple strip on the inside if you want a fast lap time. Again, you need to miss the sausage, so you come just after it, and you want to aim and hopefully slide a little bit across the red and white and get the accelerator down and all the way across to this one. This is fairly smooth. Now, there's a couple of really good things about this strip on the left hand side. It's relatively stable, but sometimes you do sort of slip through it here. Now I would recommend in races where you need to do a pit stop, you will see that if you screw up this corner and you go sliding off the left hand side of the track, well, you're already in the pits. So if your tires are worn and you've slipped off this corner, I totally recommend take the opportunity. You've lost the time anyway. Get into that pit, do your tire change, come back out on fresh tires. If you're not going to do a tire change, this lovely big strip of the pit entry here will recover your traction, and you can pull back across to the other side of the track to pick up the last corner. We already explained the braking point on this one, and that's pretty much the whole lot. So what I'm going to do, I'll tell you what, for the length of this video, I'm going to stop it now, and we'll do like a part B coming up, where I'll just implement everything we've just talked about and run a couple of fast laps, and in that one I'll cover off some of the tricks of the trade you can use to shortcut some of these corners on Laguna Seca. So consider this as the part A of the advanced track guide for Laguna Seca, and I shall come back on the next video to cover part B.